So, question. Have you ever looked at your job performance or your title or your paycheck or received a performance review and thought, that's it? That's who I am? If so, you are not alone. We live in a world that is constantly measuring us by our productivity, output, our income, size of the house, kind of the car, clothing we're wearing, places we go, right? All these things that we call success. It's so easy to forget that your inherent worth, who you are, has nothing to do with what you produce. And today, that is the lie that we're going to debunk. Okay? Hi there. Welcome back. I'm Leezá Steinorf. I'm a leadership trainer, executive coach, and author of the Core Success System. And if you're new here, this challenge is about helping you build clarity and confidence and to have impact from the inside out. Before I go further, I want to invite you to subscribe to the channel so that you know when new ones come out. And I want to thank you actually for your contributions, for your sharings and your comments. They're really engaging and we're building a community with that. And if you find this video useful, share it with someone else who could really profit from knowing their own value. Okay? All right. So as we begin this new year, many of us are setting goals, career goals, income goals, leadership, relationship goals, and that's great. Wonderful health goals. But if your self-worth, if your value of self is tangled up in those goals, then you are literally building on shaky ground. You're actually sabotaging yourself. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. So in 2026, let's set a new foundation, one where you are stable and resilient and whole, and set goals, make your commitments from that place. Even when projects fail, or you don't get the promotion, or the praise doesn't come or acknowledgement the way you really want it to. And I'm going to guide you through Core Success Framework as I use it. So first of all, we're going to start with clarity. And we're going to get clear about what the role of work has in our self-image. Okay, because if we're honest, many of us were raised to believe that our achievement equals our worth. We're good if we do this. We're valuable to the family, friends, school, whatever, if we do that, whether it's about doing what family members wanted, whether it's about getting grades in school, right? We got the gold star for better grades. We got praise for doing things right, or applause and celebration when we hit certain milestone. So that conditioning goes super deep. And we haven't even questioned it. We just assume that, of course, our value is connected to when we perform. So then when we underperform or don't perform, and worse is when actually we're told so, like in a performance review, or our paycheck reflects it, right? Then that inner critic that's always talking in the background starts up. You're falling behind. You didn't accomplish enough. Everybody else is better than you. You're never going to get it. Whatever your narrative is, right? It clicks in when you're not keeping pace, when you're not holding the line, so to speak. But I'm going to invite you to consider, what if that entire narrative is flawed? What if the clarity that you actually need right now is that your value, your worth as a human can't be earned, was never meant to be earned, because it simply is. So pause for a minute and try this. Ask yourself, if I took away my job title, my resume, experience, accomplishments, all of that, what's left? What answer arises? That's your experience of your self-worth. Doesn't mean that's your self-worth. It means that's what you've been telling yourself. Maybe you believe you're not good enough, or you fail too often. You can't keep up. For me, it was, you're not smart enough. Maybe you don't feel you deliver well. Whatever your version is for yourself, at that story you have going in the background, maybe you're not even aware of. Then maybe your self-worth is not as rock solid as you would like it to be, or as it deserves to be, because your value and your worth is good no matter what. You're a beautiful human being. It simply is so, even with all of the bumbles and faults and mistakes and things that we've done that we aren't proud of. Doesn't matter. And you need to know that your value was never dependent on your output, on your performance or your deliverables. It's not conditional. It's just not. So if we talk about ownership, which we're going to move into next. So first we're getting clear on what our value is and what we've been telling ourselves. Now we're going to talk about where do I actually still hold the pen of what I can write about myself. So naming those false beliefs about your worth is super helpful because then you can see how they're running in the background and how they actually show up daily. So, for example, do you check your emails first thing in the morning, and even on weekends? Like, are you in constant, I've got to get it done, I've got to get it done? Or when you have a bad day, when things don't go well, is your sense of peace really disturbed? Do you constantly compare yourself to other, to how they are, how fast they are, how well they're doing? And you need to know these behaviors are not your fault. We've been trained super well. I'm going to give you an example. I was brought up by an immigrant son, worked super hard, self-made man, did amazing in the world, my father. But my gosh, was he driven and he pushed us to no extent. You had to be better, do better, go faster, all of these things in order to feel like you were okay. And he did the same thing to himself. It's not that he just did it to us, right, as his kids. But that was ingrained in me, and it took me a long time to understand that my value, who I am, my worthiness was not connected to what I was delivering. So you can take ownership of the behaviors that have grown out of that kind of training. I'm proof of that. Okay. So I'd like to give you a tool that I give to my executive coaching clients. And I can tell you that leaders have found this to be really powerful and it's super simple. It's called the acknowledgement practice. At night, before you go to bed, and it's best time because when you go to sleep and you rest, your mind is going to work with whatever you last put in. That's why I encourage people to not have television last thing, not be reading, scrolling right before you go to bed, because that's what you're going to continue to work with. So here's a practice to replace that. Write down, and I mean literally write down, put a book next to your bed, notebook, paper, whatever it is, like physically write down 3 things that you did that day that you acknowledge. So, what I mean by is characteristics. For example, I was kind when somebody was snarky with me or impatient with me today. Or I stayed curious when I didn't get the answer that I wanted or I didn't get the result that I wanted. Or when things got rough, I was able to calm things down. Whatever it is for you. Maybe it's something small that nobody else would even notice, but you noticed it. 3 things that you acknowledge yourself for, not accomplishments. And then I invite you to keep that practice every night for at least a month, 30 days, and see how it goes. And take it with you if you want to take a screenshot of it or whatever. Look at it before you go into a meeting or after you've had a rough day or when you're doubting yourself. And read it out loud to yourself. You can read it to your partner too, or you can do it together. And I honestly, leaders of every sector, top executives, come to me and say that practice has had was the biggest game changer for them because they were able to identify their value independently of what it was that they produced and their performance. So you are not your output, you're not your inbox, you're not your KPI sheet, right? This is where you have power. You get to define yourself and what matters most to you, and then appreciate yourself that way. Okay, so now we're going to talk about resolution and how can you change course? How can you bring things into alignment? And it's about choosing a new way forward. So let's look at how you can uncouple your work from your worth in really, I'm going to say, a tangible way. New year, people set goals, right? I always struggle with the word goal because it feels like it's so end oriented. And what I really like to work with is commitment and being present to something. But let's use goal for the moment, okay? So I'm going to invite you to set being goals and not just doing goals. So, what do I mean by that? Instead of focusing on what you're going to achieve, ask yourself, who do I want to be this year? Do I want to be more present, more playful, more aligned? Like I signed up for more fun. I signed up for improv classes. My work is often very serious, and I want to just be lighter and have more fun. So you can set goals that have to do with how you want to show up. I want to respond to pressure with calm. I want to take breaks without feeling guilty. I want to leave my work at work. You hear what I'm saying? So instead of an outcome, you're talking about a process, how you want to show up in the world. Another thing you can do is redefine success. So I've really struggled recently with the name of my company, which is Core Success, because my definition of success is so drastically different than how it's used in the world. Because for me, success is who you are, it's how you show up, it's not what you achieve, right? So traditionally, success means title and salary and prestige. But that personal success, that inner well being, comes from peace and freedom and alignment of your values with who you're being in the world. So I'm going to invite you to consider moving toward that definition of success, the one of being your highest and best in the world. But in any case, define success for you. So success to me looks like whatever. And I know I'm succeeding when. So, for example, for myself, success to me means living and leading from my highest and best. And I know I'm succeeding when I get that feedback from others that they're living their lives from their highest and their best. Because then I know it has that ripple effect. Okay? So, whatever your definition is, then use that as your compass. All right, let's look at excellence. And excellence isn't about perfection, it's how you choose to show up and coming from your highest and your best. It's about alignment. So when you detach your work from how you show up, it's not because you're trying to get validation, you're actually rooted. Your orientation is within yourself and what's important to you. When I talk about values, it's what you align yourself to: integrity, honesty, joy, quality, communication, whatever your values are, clarity, and then you align with that. So when you are separating, if you will, distinguishing out your value from your work, it's not about what you're achieving, it's about how you're being. You bring presence to your meetings. You speak with calm. You speak from authority. You bounce back quicker when you misstep or when there's a fail, what's been called a failure. You don't take up space, but you create space for other people that you can collaborate together. That's how you lead. And not because of a title, but it's because you're connected to something deeper within yourself, with yourself, actually. So here's a mantra, so to speak, that you can carry into 2026 if you like. I am valuable because I exist. And my work is an expression of who I am. It's not the source of who I am. And you can repeat that as often as you want to until your nervous system really believes it. And you can live from that place because it is so. Okay, so what did we uncover today? You started this episode maybe believing consciously or unconsciously that your worth was tied up with your output, with your performance. Along the way, we questioned that conditioning and we looked at how you can reclaim your sense of self. You were offered some tools to act differently, to perceive things differently, some practices. And now here you are, remembering, hopefully, that you already are enough. You don't need a promotion. You don't need a metric or feedback. Nothing of that is going to determine your value. You get to carry the truth of your value and who you are into the rest of 2026 and beyond that. You get to live from that place. So if this episode helps you take even one step toward that kind of grounded self-worth, let me know in the comments. What false belief are you ready to let go of this year that maybe you weren't even aware you were carrying until you listen to this? And if you want more tools like this, that are really designed for real life and real growth and personal power, then subscribe to the channel and like the video and share with someone else who really needs to hear it. It's wonderful when you can grow a community that way because you are worthy, full stop. And you get to let that be your New Year reset. Thank you. Be well.